and I just want to speak this over all of you that are carrying song. You're not, and you've heard me say things like when you're writing a song, you're not writing next year's most popular chorus. You're writing the next generation's language for accessing God. You're carrying lyrics that sustain truth to the people that'll come behind us. Don't ever get caught in the trap of being in ministry, because it's not about building a ministry. It's about giving your life away. And don't get caught in these cycles of having 5-year plans, guys. 5-year plans ain't worth a flip. It ain't about 5-year plans. It's about a 500-year vision. It's about something that God wants to put in you that no enemies of your generation or the next can take away, because you're suspending and sustaining and selahing truth into the next generation. And so anyway, it just feels awesome to be in here today. We're going to talk about, Josh sent me a thing, and they wanted me to talk about power and authority in this session. And I changed the title of it just a little bit, but it will encompass power and authority, the idea of power and authority in the kingdom for worship culture. But it's also, I'm going to try to deal very quickly with moving those words into kind of a new understanding, if you don't mind. I don't take those words lightly, and also I don't take the preaching and teaching and whatever your understanding of power and authority would be, but I want to talk about it like this. I want to talk about it as impact and influence. And impact to me carries a little more of a grace on it for when we think of power, we think of that explosive, energizing occurrence that empowers. And see, that's kind of what happened in the upper room. There was an empowering that came because heaven answered earth's song. See, what they've been doing, they've been worshiping in that room, creating an atmosphere, releasing the sounds of their voices. And the sounds of what they were releasing has actually invaded heaven. And heaven had to respond. In the same way that many times heaven invades earth and humanity responds. And that's a beautiful thing as well. But in the upper room, what had happened was they invaded heaven, and so heaven shook the earth. Explosive, energizing occurrences, and it carries a now factor in its impact. When you're in a place of impact, you feel that sense of urgency of heart to respond. And but then when I think about impact versus influence or authority, see, authority is where we get some of those words like authors, which authors are considered to be qualified authorities, authorized to be a voice that carries long-term influence. I don't want us to create too much of a complication of thought here. But if you're carrying authority, that authority that you will carry will have a sense of longevity to it. It'll have a sense of multi-generationalism to it. And see, what I tell folks now, remember this. The best time to influence the character of a child, for example, is about 100 years before they're born. So if you really want to have influence, and you do, you need to carry enough impact that it becomes a knowing of God rather than a know-how of ministry. You see where I'm going? So we're talking about impact here. And a lot of people have impacted the world in their days. And a lot of them didn't look like they were going to be very impacting because they started their life off as very naive dreamers. But I just say, blessed are the dreamers. And I say, blessed are the dreamers in this room. I say, blessed are the dreamers. And remember this, dreams don't have to come true to be valuable. Sometimes they just sustain us and give us the courage to endure our dark seasons while a more focused purpose comes into view that will carry influence to the next generation. But we started with the dream. Don't be afraid to be a dreamer. And go ahead and dream your dreams out loud. That's what David did. He dreamed his dreams so out loud that his dreams took on the form of lyric that carried life and released a sounds that we're still singing today. Talk about influence. Here's a harp player sitting in the middle of the shepherd's, it's called the shepherd's field, the tower of the flock. He's sitting there playing and impacted the atmosphere with such a grace and a call and a yearning on his life. He filled that atmosphere with that that yearning, and released the lyric. And you got to remember, he was in a place called the Tower of the Flock, or the Shepherd's Field, sitting there with an instrument called a kinnor. He played 4 different kinds of harps, but this particular one was a kinnor. It wasn't the sheminith, it wasn't the nebel, it wasn't so on. He was playing this thing, and the Shepherd's Field, or the Tower of the Flock, his job there was overseeing, taking care, shepherding the sheep that had been designated to be the sacrificial lambs. And in that atmosphere, he created a sound that God could not resist, and brought into that atmosphere a prophetic promise born out of his song and out of his longing and out of the covenant that God had made with him because of the blood that was in his body. And so he released the song, and then 1,000 years into the future, right where the song was sung, there at the Tower of the Flock in Bethlehem, there's a manger right there where he was singing the song. And a sound came from heaven that was in response to the impact that he had set into the atmosphere and the influence that he would have because of God's promises on a dreamer's life. Are you hearing me? So when you step up to sing a song, don't ever take lightly what God could be doing in setting an anthem into the wind that's carrying a truth that will reveal God to the next generation in ways that no generation past has ever experienced God. So the impact of who you were born to be and the blood that's in your body is a part of the song and the sound that you are.